from WBBZ-TV Sports, it's time to beat the champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to Beat the Champ with the Sues, Novoitsky and Jagodzinski. My name is Paul Peck. We start a brand new month at a brand new location. We're at Manor Lanes II in Amherst, and Sue, Manor Lanes II means double the fun here, and we're going to have some fun, although maybe not necessarily the bowlers, because the oil conditions here may be a little challenging for the guys.
That's right. We're going to have to use some expert advice today because, like last year, he made it a more challenging shot. So today's going to be about shot making and about repeating, and that's why we see Chuck and that's why we see Chad Me, because they're shot makers, and the shot makers will rise to the top.
Well, we got a great match that we're going to learn a lot right off the bat. We've got Jason Ciliberto on a 4-match winning streak coming from Alley Brandt Lanes against one of the best bowlers in Western New York, and that's Chuck Jagodzinski.
Right, and we haven't seen him in a few months, and he is here, and he really wants to get his streak going again. So, you know, and again, the shot play really plays into him. He led on this, so we know he can play on it.
You mean Chuck has been building up the excitement for the last couple of months?
I was here for the finals, and I got a lot of inside information because he turned around and talked to me every time.
Boy, are you ready for that? I'm not sure I am.
I am totally ready.
Right, Chad, me, Rob, Piccoli, the other 2 bowlers on the first show, really high-level guys. We're going to learn a lot here right off the bat, aren't we?
I think we're going to pay a lot of attention to the ball choices that they make, specifically just because the patterns are going to be tough. So pay attention to what they put out there when they're throwing the ball. We're going to look for equipment that's a little bit smoother, doesn't come off the break point when the ball gets down the lane. So.
All right, so it's going to be fun. Chuck Jagodzinski versus Jason Ciliberto to get us started. Beat the Champ is on the jagged edge right off the bat, so let's get rolling. Couple of Buffalo bowling titans get us started here at Manor 2 Lanes. Chuck Jagodzinski and Jason Ciliberto, between the 2 of them, 41 appearances here on Beat the Champ.
Wow, that is an enormous number.
And Chuck Jagodzinski, who's making his 31st appearance, gets us started with a strike.
Well, like I mentioned in the open, I was here for the top 24 qualifiers to make the show, to create the top 9. And Chuck was as intense as he gets, and we know he can get pretty intense. He turned around, he was like pointing to his shoes, and he was...
I thought you were going to say he was in rare form, but Chuck being intense is not rare. Exactly.
So the challenge, of course, for Jason is... Whoa, little lucky break right there. That's what you want to do against someone like Chuck, who is a
get
little
every
volatile.
break you can.
That's your best defense, if there is such a thing as defense, is to kind of get him going early.
Yep.
But, you know, his challenge, of course, is like always when you come to a new center, is he didn't bowl on this, and he came from a house where almost everyone was left-handed. There was only 2 right-handers last month, and so we know, even though he's a great bowler, we also know that the conditions kind of favor the left-hand side.
Yep.
Not so much over here. We didn't really see the strong performance from the left-handers here.
More on the challenging conditions here at Manor 2 in just a moment. And Jason Ciliberto coming in on a 4-match winning streak. He won his last 4 matches at Alley Brandt Lanes. That wrapped up 2 weeks ago. Again, this is his 10th appearance here on Beat the Champ. An overall record, very impressive. 14 wins and 5 losses. Beyond that, we talked about the challenging conditions at Alley Brandt a week ago, yet not only did Jason win 4 in a row, he averaged .234 in those 4 wins.
Right, well, we talked about it being a bit of a shot maker kind of condition, and you know, I would consider Jason a shot maker. He's a great bowler, and he's had so much success, and he's like the opposite demeanor-wise than Chuck. He's just so calm and just unrattleable. Mm-hmm. You never really see him get too up.
You made up a word,
down.
but it's perfect. Unrattleable. That's perfect.
Or I think that, you know, Chuck, we know that he wears his emotions on his sleeve, right? You know better than anyone.
If there's nothing rattling, he'll rattle it. That's what we know about Chuck.
But he's intense, and I can tell he's got his mind in the game right here. That was a very intense shot.
Yes, and a perfect shot. Mm-hmm. Exactly how he wanted to throw it and where he wanted to throw it. 34 wins on Beat the Champ for Chuck Jagodzinski. He is within 2 of our leader in wins, which is Mike Zarcone. Oh, look at that one. That was a gentle touch to knock that final pin down.
So we're going to see a lot of that today. We're going to see, because it's a wood surface, where the lanes are going to break down is going to be in the front of the lane. And what happens first is the ball will start to hook early, and it's going to happen fast. It doesn't take its time on wood. It starts happening quick. So he's already feeling a little transition there. That ball already just hooked up a little high on him.
So what has Jim Russo and the gang here at Manor 2 got ready for these guys? What's he throwing at them?
So it's more of a flat pattern, and it kept the scores in qualifying down. 580, 57. I think it was 580 something. That was actually the cut, which is extraordinarily low for this, but it was playable. And we'll see over the coming month some bowlers that necessarily aren't, the leading bowlers on Beat the Champ, but they came here and they bowled well on a tough condition.
Yep. To back you up on that, coming up in the next 3 weeks here at Manor 2, we've got names like Jagodzinski, Ciliberto, Chad Mee, Rob Piccoli, and then the other 5 guys are all either making their debut or guys that haven't really been on a ton, maybe except for Mike Johnson, who we've seen pretty regularly, but there's a lot of new names that are coming up in the next 2 weeks, which tells you exactly the point you're making, that the guys are pretty good about figuring things out.
This great shot right there. This qualifier and this month happened to come up against a lot of tournaments.
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ.
Instant replay on Beat the Champ is brought to you by Transit Lanes and Keglers. Join us for bowling, food, and drinks.
Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
It gave the opportunity to some of the bowlers that may not be your household name to come out here and qualify, because some of the bigger names just weren't here.
Boy, Chuck's in a groove. That's 5 strikes to open this matchup for Chuck Jagodzinski. You saw Sue Jeziorski manning the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard in for Janelle Sabin this month. And she's been writing nothing down but strikes for Chuck. And Jason's got 2 strikes and a spare to get himself started here. Or correction, 3 strikes and a spare. I missed one there. So this is the 5th frame for Jason Ciliberto. Chuck Jagodzinski second in wins. I told you 2 behind Zarcone. How about Jason's tied for 5th in wins? Boy, did that one skirt the left side. Living on the edge.
There has to be a lot of oil out there for him to try. What he's trying to do is find some friction, and he's pretty much playing the 1-2 board, and that one just went too far down the lane on him. He has to get the projection going a little bit to the right, and that one just went up the boards for him, and it's just not going to come back off of that. And we know that Chuck bowled well on this. I mean, Chuck was high, which is why he's our first qualifier today. And really, the cream of the crop, Chad Mee, is obviously one of the strongest bowlers in the city. They're the ones that really rose to the top on this tougher condition.
And Chuck Jagodzinski has bowled well here before, too. As a matter of fact, the last time we were here a year ago, Chuck had a 4-match winning streak here at Manor 2. This place is this has been an interesting place for us here. We've got the first ever 300 game on Beat the Champ came here back in 2017 from Mike D'Amico. Matter of fact, of the 5 300 games we've had, these 2 guys have won of them each. Chuck and Jason Ciliberto have both owned a 300 here on Beat the Champ.
That's right. So 2 out of the 5 are right here competing in this match.
At the place where the first one happened. Good ball, good pin movement that time for Jason. 6th frame strike.
I'll tell you, believe it or not, Jason is bowling very, very well. I mean, this shot is not favoring him, so to speak, and he's really making good shots out there. But
Chuck's locked in.
Chuck's, yes.
Oh, he was worried about that one. You saw the double hop and a skip and a jump there from Chuck, because that did not look like the other ones he had been throwing. Yet the result was the same.
It was close, and I'll tell you one reason why Chuck bowls well in this place is because of the wood condition, is because you can see that Chuck has a little more ball speed and his projection is very much down and in. And he gets through the heads really, really well. So the heads, and they're the first things that break down the front part of the lane, which is the heads. He kind of gets the ball straight through that, and it doesn't affect him as much as someone who would set it down shorter or would roll the ball earlier. So he can stay playing his game a lot longer because of the way he gets through the front of the lane.
Perfect through 7 frames for Chuck Jagodzinski. So Jason Ciliberto's bowled well, but he's got to know what he's up against right now.
I mean, he has 258 still up on the board, and he could not even get a sniff.
The lefty from Gasport. Yeah, that one. So the difference to me in what we're seeing early in this match, Chuck has been in the pocket at the exact, and it has not wavered an inch one way or the other, which is why he's perfect through 7. Jason's been a little bit all over the place, which probably has to do with what you're talking about. He hasn't bowled on this, so he's using a little bit of this to figure out where he needs to be.
Well, and you can see how different they are. I mean, Chuck is playing between the second and third arrow. He's already a little bit deeper on the lane. He's not trying to play the outside of the lane where it's obviously a little strippy. And when I say strippy, I mean strips of oil, strips of dry. So how you go through strips of oil can really affect your ball reaction and make you look inconsistent. Chuck is way inside of that, so they're not playing the lanes the same, even though they're right-handed, left-handed. A lot of times you'll see them playing the lanes the same because they're kind of like crown pattern. This isn't happening here.
Mom Joan, Dad Greg here cheering on Jason Ciliberto. Nice one of Jason's nicest rolls of the day.
Actually, because we're so far off of lane 5, you can see it. He actually went, crossed over on that. So that's
They don't ask how, they just ask how many. 51-year-old Chuck Jagodzinski from Lancaster. And that will end his perfect run. I thought that little ball roll, pin roll was going to take out the 10 pin. I think Chuck thought so too. So if you were feeling a little bit of another perfect game, the 70th of the career for Chuck Jagodzinski, I got to tell you, I thought I was. We won't get it here, but that doesn't mean we might not still get it.
Yep, that was just, that was the same shot he threw on that lane last time.
And that time he got exactly what he didn't get on the one before.
He gave that one a little bit more room, and that ball came back a little nicer.
Yep, that little messenger pin flying over there and taking out the 10. So this has been a great match right off the bat. We knew it right off the bat. When you see the lineup and you're like, oh boy, look at these two guys both in the top 5 of our most successful Beat the Champ bowlers. We knew we were going to get a good one, and Chuck looks locked in and ready to hang out here for a while.
He does. He's going to be tough, but he's coming up against Chad Mee. He's going to win this match. You know, no matter what Jason does, even though he can finish with 238, it's not going to be enough to beat Chuck. But you know, he's going to have a tough match with Chad Mee because we know that Chad Mee is a pretty capable bowler. Yeah.
We don't see, we'll talk more about Chad coming up in our next one. We don't see him a lot, but when we see him, he always makes an impact because he's that good a bowler. Right. So it's going to be a win for Chuck Jagodzinski to get us started here at Manor 2 Lanes in Amherst. Chuck inching ever closer to the top spot of our all-time Beat the Champ wins. I'll have a chance to tie that record. Match number 2. It's a win for Jagodzinski. We'll come back and talk to Jason Ciliberto. Get you ready for match 2. Sue and I return to Amherst. This is Beat the Champ. 278 to 208, a win for Chuck Jagodzinski to get us started here at Manor 2 Lanes. Aside from bowling against Chuck and having him throw a 278, you come in here without having the advantage of figuring out what he's come up with for the lanes. Was that a challenge for you in this match, Jason?
A little bit. The lanes were playing a little bit different too. Left lane was a little drier than the right lane also, so but Chuck bowled awesome.
You could kind of tell he was locked in.
Yeah, I probably would have had a challenge if I did bowl this week. So.
Right. All right. So unfortunately, Jason's 4-match winning streak comes to an end, but I know he'll have chances to add another one of those pretty soon. Jim, take over here.
Coming from Alley Brandt, where you've got synthetic, to here where you're on a little wood, it was kind of a challenge, huh?
Yeah, I actually played them kind of similar, but they were way tighter at Alley Brandt's.
Well, here's a little something to ease the pain a little bit for you.
All right, so we are literally off and rolling. A great first match to get us started. Chuck Jagodzinski looks like he's ready to hang out here for a while. We'll find out if that happens. Match 2 coming up next on Beat the Champ. Match number 2, Chad Mee will be the guy to challenge what looks like a already red-hot and locked-in Chuck Jagodzinski.
Well, Chuck put on a great performance the first match, but remember, these are going to change quickly, so he's going to have to change along with it.
Or just keep doing what he did in the first match that was good for a 278.
It seems like lane 6, and we always go to this, that one lane's a little different than the other. It seems like lane 6.
One of these days we're going to get a show where both lanes are exactly the same.
I don't know. It's hard because every lane has its own characteristic, and how it affects a bowler is kind of what we get to talk about. Now, it looks, when you look at Chad's first shot, it looks like he is actually to the right of Chuck and throwing less ball. He's throwing less ball, but he's throwing less bowling ball. He's got a great hand. He's relying on his hand, and he's trying to hit it as hard as he can, but he's using a urethane ball, which, you know, goes back to the 80s.
That is a retro. Why? What is it about the urethane ball that would prompt Chad to want to use it under these conditions here in 2019?
Well, urethane's made a comeback because of the two-handers and because of the high rev rates out there, and even a lot of the right-handers that you see on tour that are traditional in the way they throw the ball still have high rev rates. It seems to be what they need right now. So when the lanes start to hook too much, they can't use the high performance bowling ball. So urethane's made a comeback because it tames down the lane for them. And because he does have a high rev rate, because of his hand, and these conditions are relatively dry, he can pull out that urethane ball and make it look great.
Spare and strike in the first 2 for Chad Mee. And here's Chuck, now up to 35. Beat the Champ wins just 1 off the lead of Mike Sarcone. And once again,
what a great shot.
Chuck is locked in where he's throwing it, how he's throwing it, and like I said in the first match, just notice where that ball hits. It has not varied from that 1-3 pocket at all on any of the balls he's thrown yet today.
Right, the ones that he's leaked a little right, and when I say a little right, I mean a little right. We're not talking about
an inch or 2.
Have come up a little light for him.
Now that one leaked right, big time.
Chuck's
and
feet
you can
got
see
fast.
the results.
When that happens, that's the result of fast feet. He has been very steady, keeping his demeanor kind of as steady as he can. Very intense. That one got away from him a bit. His feet got real fast.
All right, so it'll be an open for Chuck Jagodzinski here in the third, as he'll leave the 2 pins.
That'll be one of the things that you'll see this condition will magnify, and that is an error in your timing. When you're on a house shot where they give you a little area, sometimes it won't show up as much, but on a condition like this, getting fast will be deadly.
6th appearance for Chad Mee here on Beat the Champ. 5 wins and 3 losses is the overall record. We saw him last about a year ago at Tonawanda Lanes back in July when he won 3 in a row. And don't be fooled by the fact that he's only been on the show 6 times. Chad is one of the best young up-and-coming bowlers in Western New York, but I know for a good part of the last couple of years he's been a college student at UB, which has prevented his ability to be on the show as much. And of course, if the name is familiar, he is the son of... Oh, well then you say it.
No, it's funny that we're on the same exact page.
Yep.
You might recognize the name from Jamestown, where he grew up in a bowling center. His dad owns Jamestown Bowling Company.
A regular stop here for Beat the Champ down in the southern tier.
Oh, great minds think alike.
Yeah, well,
We've been sitting here too long next to each other. Now we're reading each other's mind.
So Chad knows he's going to have to start rattling off some strikes here, and there's one of them in the fourth frame. I think anytime you know you're going against Chuck Jagodzinski, you know spares are not generally going to get you there.
Right. Well, the one thing you might give up a little bit with the urethane ball is some carry, like that last shot on 6 where he left a 9-pin. That was obviously a tap.
2 in a row where Chuck has gotten way right.
Well, Chuck's got to calm down because he's getting a little rattled.
Well, as we know, if you watch the show, the intensity level for Chuck is peaks, and sometimes, most of the time, that's a benefit. On occasion, it's a detriment.
Well, another thing about Chuck is he likes to just get up and go, and so he's already got that faster speed about him. You know how many times we've talked about he just picks the ball off the rack and goes. On this condition, he has to stay as slow as he can because he can't let his feet get fast because you cannot leak the ball right on this.
There's your updated Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard. Sue Jeziorski manning the board here for us today. And there's back to what we expect out of Chuck. You mentioned Jamestown. Last time we saw Chuck before this show was down in Jamestown back in June, where he won 3 in a row. "23 years old from Hamburg is Chad Mee, 4-time high school state champion, junior team USA as a junior bowler.
Wow.
I think he's sort of in that group of the young and up-and-comers.
This looks like a good time to take a break. We'll be back with more Beat the Champ right after this. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
Some of those under 25 bowlers that have really sort of not only continue to perpetuate this sport here in Western New York, but are doing it at a very high level.
Actually, Chad was always with a young bowler named Andrew Herbert, and I haven't seen his name around, so I don't know if
we had Andrew on the show way back.
Yeah,
we did.
And he was a nice little player, so I don't know if he went off to college or. We'll have to get an update on
pesky college stuff gets in the way of your bowling, doesn't it? 6th frame now for Chuck Jagodzinski. He shook off that open spare with a strike, and he'll get another one thanks to another nice little nudge of the pins.
You know, that may be a bit of a technology strike there because we just, we saw Chad be pretty much perfect on lane 6, and he left that 9-pin. You just don't get the same deflection as you do, with the urethane balls as you do with these high-performance bowling balls. But again, it's given him a little bit more area.
And that time, what is that? The 2 pin?
That's a 4-pin.
The 4-pin did not go down. That's an interesting leave, a little bit unusual from what we generally see.
Well, because of the heads going, and we talked about that, will be a steady breakdown in the front of the lane. That would be a fairly typical leave as the lanes start to break down a little bit.
Spare in the 7th for Chuck Jagodzinski. So what this has done is keep this match pretty tight right now, and it's still there for the taking for both of these guys.
Big shot for Chad, though. He can go up 30. Pretty close to 30 if he strikes here, just because because of the string.
Right down the pipe, and all of them go down for a strike. That's 4 in a row now for Chad Mee. Turkey +1, or is there some cool nickname for 4 in a row?
I think that's in fact, I know that's the ham bone that was recently made up within the last 10,
that one's
10,
a new
15
one.
years.
That's the color commentator on the broadcast, right?
Right. He was new to bowling and made that up, and it seems to have stuck.
Oh, so after all this stuff that people put me through for knowing all these crazy bowling terminologies, now you tell me people can make stuff up now.
Well, you made up the picket fence.
I did. You're right.
So yeah, you've done it.
Hey, that goes on the Peck resume. If I actually made up a bowling term that someone has actually used before.
Well, we use it every week.
little drama on that one for an 8th frame strike for Chuck.
Well, Chuck's not smiling because he knows that
Got a little lucky
it's
there.
not looking good for him. He needs to get lucky, and he needs to throw the rest of them, and it's still going to be, we're still going to have to see Chad falter in order for Chuck to win this match. Oh.
Yeah, this has been an interesting match for Chuck, just based on the leaves. We saw that 4-pin, we saw that the open, now we've seen the 10-pin. Does that just mean he's fishing around a little bit, trying different things or different places?
They were all really decent shots, and I'm sure.
That's Chuck just sort of getting down on himself a little bit, I think.
I'm sure Chuck will explain it all to you.
Oh, in great detail, with a smile on his face.
I don't know about the smile, but Chad is definitely going to win this one. And we may see Chad try out a different bowling ball to see what he's going to use in the next game, but Chad has secured this match.
6 in a row for Chad Mee. That's the way you not only win a match, but win a match against one of the top bowlers in Western New York and Chuck Jagodzinski. So let's see how Chad finishes out here as he prepares for his next match against Rocket Rob Piccoli. And that won't keep the streak alive, but at this point, it doesn't matter because it's a win for Chad Mee over Chuck Jagodzinski. And boy, first 2 matches here, some great bowlers, some good, interesting results as everybody's trying to figure themselves out.
That's right. Well, we thought the scores would be a little lower, and these guys are actually bowling pretty good on this. So, you know, we still might see strong scores today. I thought they'd be a little lower, but they did a good job.
All right, I'm going to go put my suit of armor on to go interview Chuck Jagodzinski here because it's a win for Chad Mee. We'll come back and wrap up this match when Sue and I return to Manor 2 Lanes in Amherst for Beat the Champ right after this. .234 to 208. It's a win for Chad Mee over Chuck Jagodzinski. As locked in and as terrific you bowled in the first match, what changed here in match 2?
All the oil pushed down a little, but I slowly moved right. But by that time, he was way ahead of me. I got that light split, and then with the next ball stuck to my thumb, so that was a bad shot. But I moved like 3 boards right on each lane, but then I started leaving 10 pins.
Right. Blame him for whatever, but blame him.
He already has. Here, I'm going to give you this, and this will help you with your sticky thumb syndrome.
I don't think it will. You don't want to see a sticky thumb.
On that note, we don't get to see Chuck anymore today, which is always disappointing, but we're going to see Chad Mee for another match. He's going to take on Rob Piccoli. It is coming up next on Beat the Champ. Match number 3 will feature Rob Piccoli taking on Chad Mee to wrap up week number 1 here at Manor 2 Lanes in Amherst. So first match was Jagodzinski over Ciliberto, then Mee beats Chuck, and now it's Chad and Rob. I survived that post-game interview there with Chuck. Okay, good thing Russo was there to take most of the heat.
He was a little upset, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's Chuck. We kind of know that.
Yeah.
And Rocket Rob making his 12th appearance here on Beat the Champ with an overall record 10 wins and 10 losses. We saw him last month at Brandt Lanes when he put up a brave fight but lost to Jason Ciliberto in our final match there at Brandt. 268 to 223.
He may have been looking for that rematch today, but
Yeah,
Jason
I'm sure
didn't
he
get out
was.
of that first game.
Spare to get things started for Rocket Rob Piccoli, and now Chad Mee off that 234. And you heard earlier the voice of our proprietor and friend here at Manor 2 Lanes, Jim Russo, and look what you have got in front of you there.
All I need is a fork. A fork and an hour, and
yeah,
I can do some damage.
It's
on this
almost the cake, thanks to our friends at Muscarell's Bakery, is almost too cool to even think about diving into.
Yeah, Steve and the staff over at Muscarell's did a great job on the cake, and we've also got some nice cookies in the back. So we're gonna have a nice little treat today.
All right, so now, because we know the people that watch this show are sticklers for accuracy and the correct terminology, are we in the, do we have the proper pin placement there? Is that the proper pin movement, you know?
Well, there's 10 pins, so they did it
Okay,
right.
well, that's good.
10 pins, and they
Good.
look like they're falling in the right direction.
What style of ball are we displaying there? The
A red one?
I don't, you know.
Yeah.
There's no branded logo on the ball there.
No.
Getting a plug in for the pro shop anywhere? Well, that's
No,
great. Though.
but-
Look at that thing. That's awesome. Great job. Thanks to those guys, and we probably certainly will dive into it at some point later on. So
Yeah, it's a shame to cut that, isn't it?
it is. It
Really
is a
nice.
shame.
Certainly is a testimony to what they can do over there. I would never have expected. Are these edible? I think they are.
Even the pins are edible?
I think so.
Wow. Very
Wow,
impressive.
what a job.
Very impressive. So, Jim, how have you been? We haven't seen you in a little while. I think
I have been
since the last
doing-
time you filled in for me and almost lost the FCC license.
That's not. I get a bad rap on this. I did nothing wrong. No,
Wasn't me.
I'm glad to be back with you guys. Chris is happy to have me. He's
Of course he is.
sitting
Well,
on
we're
the
on a-
button.
We're on a 3-second delay now because of you.
Yeah. All right, let's get to some bowling.
All right, well, let's get to some bowling.
Let's impart some information.
You have thrown an oil pattern out here that has perplexed the guys a little bit early on,
Well-
which frankly I think is great. I think it makes it
You
a lot
know-
more fun to see these guys get tested.
I think what happened is we tried to set up a rather flat shot, even oil across the lane. And when we first did it, we thought it was going to be fair. After the first day of qualifying, it seemed like they were a lot tougher than we had intended them to be. So at that point, there's nothing you can do because it wouldn't be fair to the people that qualified first to change the shot midstream. So we just had to keep it. And much to our surprise, the bowlers enjoyed it. They a lot of positive comments about the fact that it was a little more challenging, and they enjoyed the fact that it was.
I agree. I heard the same exact thing. And yet we still have had great scores. We've had a Chuck open with a 278. Chad had a 234. I mean, it's not holding the shot makers back. It's just making them more accountable to every single shot. When Chuck started to get a little quick, that's when it showed up. But
Well, don't forget, these are the guys who were the high qualifiers
Correct.
on the show too, most of them, and they made it through. And if you see, they're the guys that keep their speed up pretty good.
right.
And get a lot of revs on the ball, so they're able to battle the dryness of the lane with the speed that they're throwing.
And that's the beauty of us changing houses. I mean, last month we were at Alley Brandt, and it was primarily left-handers. So, you know, every house is going to have its characteristics, and the people that favor that are definitely going to rise to the top. But now they have to all compete against each other. I mean, these are the same guys that, all bowled well on this shot and were able to play it. So.
Right. In the bowling community, when I talk to people and they tell me they've watched the show quite a bit, and they say, but you know, the only thing is we see the same bowlers week after week, and I always tell them, boy, that
Good is
really
good is
goes
good.
to their talent because they're bowling around 11 different bowling centers on different surfaces with different lane oils. There's so many variables that for them to repeat month after month and week after week is really truly amazing.
You know, and I think, you know, particularly the guys who sit at the top of our list, you know, when you consider that Mike Zarcone and Chuck Jagodzinski have been combined on over 70 shows and have combined for over 70 wins, there's a reason why those two guys are two of the best bowlers in Western New York, and this show has reflected that.
Right, and on this difficult shot, Mike Zarcone missed by 1 pin.
Right.
And Chuck did make the show.
Yeah.
So they were again right at the top of the heap.
I think you know, this is 2 months in a row now where the oil condition has been a little more challenging, yet, as Sue pointed out, it hasn't affected the scores, it hasn't affected the level of competition. I think this show has evolved to the point now where the best bowlers in town should be tested a little better, and I give you credit for doing what you did with that today.
No, I think the bowlers truly enjoy it, and one thing to point out is 1 and 2, Chuck and Mike Zarcone, their styles are completely different. And you would think that different conditions would favor one or the other because they're not even remotely the same. One's harder and straighter and down and in, and the other one is softer and has that. And Mike has that shovel release that opens up the lane more. Two very different styles.
And one of the things that you really want to keep in mind are these guys are not using the regular equipment that they use.
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute.
Instant replay on Beat the Champ is brought to you by Transit Lanes and Keglers. Join us for bowling, food, and drinks.
Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
I think we've had Rob on our show, I think 3 of the last 4 months. He has been one of those guys who has become really, really consistent and is always coming out to qualify for the show, and generally when he does, he usually makes the show.
Well, over the last few years, he's really learned how to control his ball speed, which in this case is to his advantage. This is when he wants to pull his ball speed out and use it. And there's times that he needs to back off of it, and since he's gotten really good at that and learned how to do it, now it's made him more versatile. But on a shot like this, he's going to be tough.
We've kind of joked that he's not quite as much rocket as he used to be before. We're going to call him the missile or something, a little less speed than the rocket. So, but it's made him a better bowler.
He's leaving a few 4-pins, coming in high and leaving that 4-pin. We had a gentleman during the qualifying, Marcus Herring, who we coined him Mr. 4-pin because he must have, I think in 6 games, he must have left 30 4-pin.
Wow.
He 4-pin, no matter where he moved, the result was the same.
That's not a nickname you want, right?
He wasn't happy.
Yeah.
He's a great guy, though.
Yeah, well, Mr. 4-pin is probably not something you can put on a shirt.
Chad's got an opportunity here to not only get a lot closer.
Oh,
wow.
How about that?
It's one way to convert the 4-9.
Yeah. How about some serious slide action there to take the 4 and the 9 out?
That's one way to go from out of the match to in control of the match.
23 years old is Chad Mee. Since the last time we saw him on the show, I believe Chad has graduated from UB, now working at Ascension Industries in North Tonawanda. So that was always, we talked about that before. We didn't get him on the show as much as we thought because he was busy with school. Well, he's got that degree and he's working now, and he can refine his bowling game, as we are seeing here 3 in a row.
Rolling right along.
That's right. So with that strike, he went ahead. He got into the lead here. He's got a 9-pin lead on Rocket, so he's got to start striking over here.
Rocket Rob, 34 years old, from Kenmore, produce manager for Tops Friendly Markets. 227 average for Rob. Nice big strike in the 8th frame for Rob. 2016-2017 second place finish in the Buffalo Bowlers Tour, and that is quite an accomplishment in itself as well.
Rob bowls for the Manor Lanes team in the traveling team, the Bowling Proprietors travel team. All of the better bowlers participate in that, and he happens to be on our team, so we're very proud of him.
Rob bowls about, what, 5 nights a week, I think, as we look at,
he subs too.
Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I don't know how he takes Sunday off, but.
Well, he's tournaments.
Oh, that's it. Boy, did you see that pin pop way up in the air there?
Yeah, that's just a fast, that's a.
Bad break.
You got springs on the bottom? Did you put springs on the bottom of those, that 4-pin?
No, that's not the 4-pin.
7-pin? It was
That's
the 7, wasn't it?
Well, these guys aren't making this look tough at all. They're all over the pocket.
No, and I noticed one thing too, when our house bowlers, when we have a regular league, the way we dress the lanes, going across the lane is a little bit of a challenge because there's heavier oil in the center, and you see a lot of 7-pins missed because the ball doesn't finish quite as much, but you notice when he shot that 7-pin, he had no issue with it at all.
So, this is going to cause this game to go all the way to the 10th now, because he could have closed him out, but left him a little bit of an opening.
All right, so Chad's got the spare opportunity here in the 9th frame. And he'll get it. And we are going to the 10th with this match up in the air.
You know, after running the qualifying for the last couple of weeks, I've got to say that most of the guys that came in to qualify were so great. We had such a good time the last 2 weeks hosting the qualifier. Anybody that isn't trying out for this show is missing a great opportunity to experience something they're not going to experience anywhere else. You know, this is it. This is the only show in Western New York, and if you want to be somebody, you've got to come and beat somebody.
That's right.
Big strike in the 10th for Chad Mee. Plus, you get to meet Sue.
Yeah.
Right? What more could you want?
Sure. And me.
On you.
All right.
Maybe not quite even there, but you know, slightly behind it. By the way, congratulations on your recent nuptials.
Oh, geez, thank you, thank you.
Your significant other there, Craig Muni, may have a Stanley Cup ring, but you finally have your wedding ring.
Oh, God. Well, he's just jealous because I'm more current than he is.
Aha! Boy, who would have thought that? Who would have thought it would be someone other than Russo would get someone the most angry on this show?
Well, just to say, a strike here can shut Rob out. Strike. He can go into the 230s. Oh.
Nope.
Wow, that one got away from him. Brooklyn strike there. Brooklyn shot. Got a little fast. Got his feet got away from him.
Imagine all the tears all over Western New York knowing that Sue is now off the market.
Absolutely.
Can you imagine?
Absolutely.
Can anybody tell that I tried to change the subject here and talk about bowling? Yes, the apocalypse did occur.
227 on the board for Chad Mee.
So we need a double and 9. So
okay. There's your Castellone scoreboard.
Start
Sue
with the first one.
Told you what Rocket Rob needs. 2 strikes and 9 pins. And it will not happen, and that means it's a win for Chad Mee. So Rocket Rob comes to the 10th frame with a chance to win, can't get it done. So it's a 2-match winning streak for Chad Mee. We will come back, talk to both guys, and get you ready for week number 2. Chad Mee takes the cake. I'm not sure that cake will be here for week number 2 as it sits in front of Russo.
It will definitely not be. I'm going for a fork right now.
I had the feeling that was going to be the case. We'll come back and wrap up our first week here at Manor 2 Lanes in Amherst. More Beat the Champ right after this. Right down to the 10th frame, and it's a 227-217 win for Chad Mee. Rob, take me through the match. Take me through as everybody on this show seems to be kind of figuring out what these lanes are going to do to them.
It was pretty. I had a good look. Just kind of down 10, and every shot was there. Just a couple 7 pins, 4 pins. Just didn't fall, and So
Right. Yeah, all right. Well, once again, he's the one to blame.
He's at a loss for words.
Well, that's okay. I get it. You know,
Well,
he's been such a regular on this show. I know you don't like going home, do you?
No, it's tough, but Chad bowled good too. So.
Yep.
Well, we've got a little something for you, and I'm sure we're going to see you next month again, so you'll recover. You'll be fine.
Thank you. I will.
And remember, keep that traveling team nice and strong. We want to win.
That's right. Yeah, he just wants the Manor Lanes travel team to do well. So
Exactly.
So
All right, well, obviously the story of the month is the flat oil pattern, and you chose to go with urethane, so it's a good opportunity to talk a little bit about urethane. Tell me why you made that choice.
A purple hammer is, well, it's urethane, but it's like a ball I've been throwing a lot, pretty much on everything. And this is a pretty high friction house, so in qualifying I found something I was able to get right and then throw it right and still be able to get some recovery, so I stuck with that.
So does that ball give you a little bit more room?
More room, I guess. Yeah, it's just safer. I can throw them semi-close and I can stay out of trouble splits-wise. I got a break in there and that tripped that 4.9, but it's safer.
So if you went to a high-performance bowling ball, we would see you make a big move on the lane, though it wouldn't look the way it is now, right?
I'd move a little left. I'd probably change my hand position a little and get a little more forward just to keep it safe because it's a safer hand position. And then, yeah, it'd look kind of close, but I'd be a little farther left.
All right, so he's done his job for me for next week, so when we see him come back again, that's what he's going to do. But great bowling today anyways.
Thanks.
right. I believe that makes him the only one here at Manor 2 that does try to stay out of trouble. Apparently. We know we're getting more of Chad and me. He'll be back for next week's show. Sue and I will preview the 3 contenders to try to knock Chad off the Beat the Champ throne. That's when we come back to wrap up our first week here at Manor 2. More Beat the Champ right after this. Well, with the level of bowlers that we knew we had on this first show, we knew we were going to see some great bowling, and we knew we were going to see guys who could figure out what the lanes here at Manor 2 were going to do. So what'd you learn?
Right, it was going to be about shot making, and that is what it came down to. But then ball choices made a difference too, because I will definitely say that urethane ball smoothed out the lane for him, and we saw no suffering of scores. The scores were high. So coming up next week, we're going to have bowlers a little less experienced, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, we know Chad Mee is our guy who's going to be back. Urethane ball's like retro here, right? You know, going back to the 80s and so forth?
Yeah, pretty much the 80s.
Yeah.
But it's nice for the guys because it can keep you out of trouble. The ball's not going to make a lot of motion down the lane. So if the guys keep their line pretty tight, they're going to stay out of trouble. And then you get into some of these resin balls, and when you have urethane pushing oil a different way, it makes a little bit of a design, kind of what happened to Chuck.
All right, so stuff for all of us to watch on next week's show, Chad Mee versus 3 new competitors. We hope you join us next week here at Manor 2 Lanes in Amherst for more Beat the Champ.